Hello and welcome to this episode of xConnect Northwest. I'm your host, Greg Mills. On today's show, we're talking music, the beautiful sounds of the Washington, Idaho Symphony. And to help talk about that, we're lucky to have bassoonist, composer, Dr. Ryan Hare, and symphony director, Jeremy Briggs-Roberts. Before we get going, I want to remind you at home that you can join in the conversation at any time. It's very simple. Connect with us on Twitter at NWPTV, or you can use hashtag xConnectNW. On Facebook, search Northwest Public Television, or by email as well at kwsutv@wsu.edu. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Jeremy, let's start with you because I want you to describe what really is the Washington, Idaho Symphony. Tell me a little bit about it, frame it.
The Washington, Idaho Symphony is in its 43rd season. We started in 1971 as a small chamber orchestra down in Lewiston, and it just sort of gravitated up into the Moscow-Pullman area. We still serve both the Lewiston-Clarkston and Moscow-Pullman area, so it's the only orchestra within a 2-hour radius here, essentially, an hour and a half, I guess, or so. We do 6 concert cycles a year, 2 concerts per cycle, and we have, I would say, on average, about 50 or 60 local musicians who come together and work with us each time. So.
And local meaning, how much, what's the radius? How much does that
Well,
cover?
I would say 95% of them are local. We have some people who, given specific particular concert needs, we may need to import somebody for a harp position or a contrabassoon position, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the bulk of our players, 95% of them come from this Quad City area.
Okay,
so
yeah, that's great. Dr. Hare, how did you get involved with the Washington, Idaho Symphony?
Initially by playing bassoon. At first, I came in as a sub, and then the position opened up about 10 years ago, and I won the audition, and I've been the principal bassoon ever since. And then my friend, Jeremy Briggs-Roberts, created a position of composer in residence and invited me to fill that position for a 5-season term. And I wrote 3 projects for the symphony in that time period, and also did things like advise the maestro on programming and also the Young Artist Composer Competition and such things.
Great. How did you get involved, Jeremy?
With the Washington, Idaho
Yeah, what was your
Symphony,
path to it?
Well, originally I was a music director at Icicle Creek Music Center, and this job opened up, and I applied, and I was one of 5 finalists for that position 7 years ago, I guess. This is just ending my 6th season. And I was a guest conductor invited on their season in 2008-09, and by orchestra vote and board vote, I won the position. And so here I am. So we've done a lot since that time to really grow the orchestra, not only artistically, but also financially, and to try and push the orchestra into the public view as a real cultural asset for this area. It brings about so much wonderful talent and enriches our area in so many ways that we've gone a long way, or at least we've attempted to go, and there's always more that we can do to try and identify this as a real asset to our community here.
Great. So the 43rd season just wrapped up. So what did audiences see this year? What was the experience? Go ahead, Jeremy, you can start.
Well, we had some fantastic guest artists, international guest artists. Mateusz Wolski, who is the Spokane Symphony Concertmaster, came and performed with us on our first concert. Our first concert was a part of the WSU Humanitas Festival. We did a concert of Latin American music that's not often performed, and had a lot of fun with that. We
Included a piece of mine on that one.
Included a piece of his, actually, that he wrote for our orchestra 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, 2012-13, I believe.
11-12, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was the first commission from you.
Right,
Yeah.
and it was a piece that depicted the World Cup battle between Brazil and Uruguay, I think in 1950. So, soccer.
Yes, right up Dr. Hare's.
I do have a soccer theme.
And it was terrifically well received in the music itself, and this is part of the genius of what he does with music. Is he really creates a sonic picture that people can really imagine in their brain the scenario that's taking place. You can hear the soccer match going back and forth, the ball being kicked back and forth in this piece. And certainly in this most recent piece, we can definitely picture the scenario that he puts forward in that as well. So that's, I think, very accessible for audience members and certainly creates a new piece of music that is instantly enjoyable, I think, for a lot of people. So in November, we had a fantastic world-class guest artist, Inan Barnaton, on the top of the world pianist who performs regularly in the halls of Europe and New York and Boston and that sort of thing. He came and performed with us a Chopin concerto. We were graced by the Mid-Columbia Master Singers in December for a Messiah program. The symphony hasn't done Handel's Messiah in 20-some odd years, so this was kind of a momentous occasion. In January, we had an opera that had singers from all over the country and internationally recognized stage director Bob New, who works regularly in the Minneapolis area. We did Tragedy of Carmen. It was sort of a truncated Carmen, Bizet's Carmen, so it was really nice. Then Concert 5, we had Julian Schwartz, the son of the famous conductor Gerard Schwartz in Seattle. He came and performed. He's a wonderful cellist and also a budding young conductor himself, but he came and performed a Shostakovich cello concerto. And the orchestra did it was a Russian-themed program, so we did Tchaikovsky Fourth Symphony and Rimsky-Korsakov's Procession of Nobles to introduce the concert. And then for this final concert, it's our annual Young Artists Concert sponsored by the Domi Gillespie Fund at the Inland Northwest Community Foundation. We solicit applications from young artists. There are 2 categories, 18 and younger, and then college age up to age 26, that can enter in this immediate region up to Spokane and northern Idaho and whatnot. And the prize is $1,000 each and an opportunity to perform twice with our orchestra. So we get some really amazing talent as a result of that. And this year was no exception. We had a wonderful young violist who's 16 and lives up in Spokane. His name's Kyle Thiessen. And then we had a wonderful young composer named Zachary Meyer, who is a graduate student studying with this gentleman. So, and then also on that, to introduce the whole program, we at the Washington Idaho Symphony commissioned Ryan to write this fantastic piece called Tephra 2, and I'll let him speak a little bit about that.
Yeah,
It was a great concert to culminate a very successful season, I think. You know, the orchestra has reached a very high artistic level, and I think audience members are enjoying it more than ever before. So I think that we're working hard, and it was a great ender to the season. So.
Yeah, great to hear. Now, we've alluded to and talked a little bit about a piece that you composed for this last one. Tell me a little bit about it, and then we're going to have a chance to tell me about your experience and how it all came to be as far as being commissioned for that, I guess. And then we'll have a listen.
Sure. This is actually my final year as composer in residence.
Okay.
I served my 5-year term, and Jeremy wanted a new piece.
Yeah.
And he essentially was asking, he wanted sort of a rousing concert opener kind of a piece, something not too long but exciting. We've also discussed the idea of a symphony, but I think that's going to be potentially a later project. Okay. So anyway, for now, we talked about a 6 or 7 minute piece. And I had written a piece called Tephra for percussionist with a multiple percussion setup. I wrote it for David Jarvis, our percussion professor at WSU. And the idea of the title appealed to me, having lived in the Pacific Northwest most of my adult life. It's inescapable to notice that this beautiful landscape that we live in and love is formed with a very violent past. Earthquakes and volcano eruptions and so on. And so the word tephra is the word that refers to any of the material that is blown out of an eruption of a volcano. So anything from ash to giant boulders, bombs, they call them bombs, like lava bursts that explode in the air and things like that. That's all in the category of tephra. And tephra dominate the landscape of Washington.
Okay.
And so that concept of the beautiful landscape born in a history of violence.
Right, and it fit right in with what he needed for the show.
An exciting piece.
It was very,
and then also, for me, they're part of this sort of the metaphor for the creative process, which sometimes feels violent,
tumultuous,
and so on.
Sure.
And so there's not really a story that runs with the piece. But nonetheless, various people have come to me and said they heard this or that in different sections, and I think that's totally appropriate.
Let's listen to some.
Sure.
So we get a chance to. So we're going to listen to about a minute and a half here.
Great.
And we saw just a piece of Dr. Hare's piece there. You will have an opportunity to hear that and see that in its entirety on our website at nwptv.org. Give me a sense of how gratifying is that to put together a piece and have it come full circle and be a part of playing it and being a part of the Washington Idaho Symphony? How does that?
Well, it's a tremendous privilege. And it's really, I don't know, there's nothing else really like it I've ever done. You know, that this thing that started out as a concept in my head, and then over many dozens of hours of work, you know, probably a couple hundred hours of work, then it's finally a piece, and they're performing it. It's amazing. It's a little weird to play in my own piece. I enjoy it in some sense, and in some sense I don't enjoy it, because I have to, you know, on one hand focus on my own part, but on the other hand, you know, try to hear things that are going on so I can assist Jeremy with any interpretive details. And it's just that part of it's easier to do if I'm actually just in the audience listening.
Of course, of course.
And so I find it kind of uniquely stressful to play against my own music. But on the other hand, it is fun. It's really wonderful to see my colleagues getting into it and learning it. I mean, fun is not even the right word. It's incredibly gratifying and rewarding, and it starts to feel like the collaborative process that it is, creating new music and discussing it with my colleagues in the orchestra and of course with the conductor. And I think that's the part of it that becomes the most rewarding, the feeling of collaboration between the composer, in this case myself, and the players and the conductor.
Absolutely. Very quickly before we go. How do we get more information about the Washington Idaho Symphony? Where do we go to get that info? WashingtonIdahoSymphony.org is our website. Beautifully simplistic.
Beautifully simplistic.
I like it.
And that has all of our information for 2014-15. Soon it'll be updated for 2015-16. That's coming. We have some fantastic, again, great artists coming. Stephen Huff, who's one of the world's preeminent pianists of our time, is going to be here in November, and another wonderful pianist again in March, Yosu de Solan, who just won a major international competition. So it's going to be a really jam-packed, fantastic season. Ann Yazanitsky, WSU's wonderful flute professor, is joining us for our first concert in September for Nielsen Flute Concerto. And tickets are available at ticketswest.com, 1-800-325-SEAT, or at any and all Tickets West outlets and locations, including Lewiston, Rose Hours, and Beasley Coliseum.
Well, have a great season. Thanks for joining us
Thank you.
today. We
Thank
sure
you.
appreciate it, Dr. Hare and Jeremy. And thank you at home for helping us out. We love to hear from you as far as show ideas, and hope you enjoyed this show as well. Remember, you can stay connected with us all week by tweeting us, linking on Facebook, adding us to your circle on Google+, or emailing us at kwsutv@wsu.edu. Send us those show ideas. We love them. If you missed any part of today's show, don't worry. We'll see you next time, online and on air. I'm Greg Mills. Thanks for joining us.